Hi guys, welcome to Backpack Cafe. My name is Jam. I would like to share with you a walk through this Theravada Buddhist temple located outside of Phnom Penh, Cambodia, and take a look at some of the different symbolic, iconic qualities and characteristics of some of the artwork, the sculptures, the architectural features itself, and have a discussion about what some of this may mean, some of the stories that are being implied by certain iconic features. So we're going to take a walk into that pagoda in the distance there, and some of the other buildings on the temple grounds. One of the things that I want to focus on in this video will be that serpent that we see there, the multi-headed cobra, a hooded snake. We notice it here on the railings in the stairways going up into the raised platform. We call these a Naga, and we see these frequently on stairways. You know, it could represent the transition from a lower realm up into something more divine, a higher place of being. We see these also on bridges, oftentimes, and in the ancient temples located in and around Siem Reap, Cambodia. Those appear as well at places like Angkor Wat and Bayon and some of the other temples, but not all of the temples. I was struggling to try to identify where I see those and I don't see those. And they appear to be sort of a later invention. The first one that I can reference is located at the Preah Vihear temple, and it's a little bit more primitive in its carving than when you go to Angkor Wat and you notice those, or if you go to some of the other ancient stone temples located in that area and you see the balustrades, the railings that go around the walkways. It's like a bridge, right? Like a bridge taking you into the temple. So it's a transition thing. These serpents also come to represent water, and occasionally you find them on the railing that encircles the entire platform that this pagoda is sitting on. And that could be, to indicate that the place is surrounded by water, and there's a particular reason that these buildings, these main pagodas, this temple itself, would be surrounded by water. Another thing that these serpents will indicate or will represent is timelessness. The snake's ability to shed its skin gives it this regenerative aspect where serpents are seen as being sort of, before and after time. Like they seem to represent like a continuation between birth and death and, creation and destruction. That bird that you just saw there also will come into play. Let's take a look at this one. This is very similar to the panel at Angkor Wat. This particular meeting hall here has panels surrounding it that are in the style of Angkor Wat's panels. That particular scene is located on the walls of Angkor Wat. Now you can notice here we have what looks to be some demons, and these guys, much better looking, appear to be like devas or gods. And these two opposing forces are having a tug of war, a very planned out tug of war with this long serpent. And it's going to be wrapped around a tall thin mountain, and that mountain that it's wrapped around, pulling back and forth, causes it to spin like a spindle. And this is the concept, is almost like churning butter, and it's going to create all of these things that come out of that process in the sea of milk. This scene here is a common, very reoccurring storyline that we see in Cambodia, called the churning in the sea of milk. And we could do an entire video just on that storyline. We'll take a look at some more of these panels. And again, these are stylized after panels in Angkor Wat. Here's another purely Hindu icon there, Kartikeya, riding a peacock. This is Shiva, and there's a Kama, the god of desire, shooting at Shiva in order to have him fall in love with his servant, who later becomes his wife. These are stylized after, but not exactly representative of some of the carvings around Angkor Wat. Here's an example of that. This is not a Hindu, that's a Mahayana Buddhist symbol there. And these are blended and mixed in a lot of modern Theravada temples in Cambodia. These ancient Hindu, as well as Mahayana Buddhism and Theravada Buddhism, is the flavor and style to which these temples are being used. The difference in Mahayana and Theravada is it comes down to their original scriptural writings, like when they were first written down, perhaps about 2,000 years ago, maybe a little bit more. And in Sri Lanka, these stories, these teachings of the Buddha were written down in a language called Pali. And Theravada, like in Cambodia, Thailand, Myanmar, Sri Lanka, these monks will use that language and that scriptural account for their learning and for their ceremonial use. These monks must learn Pali in order to perform, their rituals and say their mantras. Mahayana, on the other hand, was originally perhaps in Sanskrit and had some of the same core teachings, was translated into Chinese, and then through the Silk Road in Tibet goes through to China and makes its way to Japan and Korea and Vietnam. And along the way, it adapted some to some of their existing local beliefs in the cultures that it encountered, and allows for a little bit more of a broad interpretation of the Buddha's teachings. Mahayana and Theravada have some differences in terms of the approach to the goal of the practitioners. So here, this is our final scene here, and we'll talk about this real quick. The birth of the Buddha is taking place in this statue scene here. The mother of the Buddha holding on that branch. She had the baby standing up. And upon his birth, he took 7 steps, and a lotus flower bloomed at each step. He pointed one hand to the sky and one hand to the earth, and proclaimed that it would be his last incarnation on earth. So if you'd like to add anything or point anything out in the dialogue, I welcome your comments. Thank you for joining me.